So, if this works out and ends up having enough time for me to explain this, this will be a part 1 video about something that was a little bit personal for me, and I wasn't wanting to talk about it. You know, even my mother doesn't want to talk about it, but I figure, you know, fuck it. I'm not afraid of it. I have no reason to be afraid of it. Never be afraid of the dead. Yes, I'm talking about my paranormal experiences. So, I lived out in a place called West Side Road, and on that place there was about a 2-acre property, and there was a trailer that had been sort of renovated into a bigger house, very, very poorly, with, like, rotting plywood floors. By the time we got in there, it was a shit show. It sucked. Fuck that place, man. That place is a skeleton now because it's fucking horrible, like it was condemned. So, so in that house, I don't know what it was. It was probably just the land, but something had happened on the land. It used to be a mill, and there were deaths at the mill, and we're certain the previous owners had killed somebody there. There were bones found. We didn't find any, but there were bones found there. Human. So somebody had been buried and not on that property. Somebody had died. And I guess one of them had been stabbed through the skull because there's a little, almost knife-sized slit surrounded by cracks, like someone had plunged a small knife into somebody's brain. That, I don't know. I think it was probably a tomahawk. Not because, you know, natives or anything, because it is on the reserve, but not because natives, like, or an axe or something. But we seen... I'll get to that part later. Just remember this. So, I guess there had been something happened, maybe a war between the natives. There was a battleground not far away, and actually they don't build on that because that's a historic site of battle. There's a great many spirits there on that site. So it's not impossible to think that a little further up the road from that, there could have been a deadly encounter there between two war parties that just happened to just bump into each other. A recon team going into enemy territory runs into a patrol, and it was bloodshed. Because there's got to be at least 100 spirits on that property. And then there was something else that we had my Uncle Dale come into the house. I'm not going to explain who he is because you know that just that he's a person. And he had always had these things follow him around, and I called them reapers. Because that's what they looked like, black cloaked beings, and they were terrifying. But I was never afraid of them because I knew that he had control over them. And I would see, when he would order them to do something, like move here, move there, just to demonstrate to me, they would do it. They would listen to him. And I don't know how, but when he left that house, I guess there was something in that house that didn't show itself because it was afraid of what was following him around. When he left, it came out, and I was kind of the center of everything. It wanted something from me because it knew that I was depressed. You know, at the time, my mother and I didn't have the greatest relationship. It was a strain. You know, living in that house was a strain, and the spirit knew that it could do more. So one day, it was a solstice, I think it was 2014 or 15, there was a solstice that fell on a full moon, and if you know anything about that, both those events are supposed to magnify by a couple of times, at least, spiritual energy. And I feel